Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. And as always, your host, Papatello, bringing you the coverage, bringing you any type of news, any, I can't even fucking speak right now. I'm stuttering in the beginning of the video. However, all types of coverage and discussions as usual. We like to keep these casual, non-scripted, fully protected, fully selected for the Poland Spring, and once again, fully erected. Settle down, not that type of video, but much love to you, and power to everybody out there, both boys and girls. Hope much love is going on, and everybody's happy and singing Kumbaya, and stoners in chat, settle down or I'll shoot you. Put that on paper, and also keep it in Minecraft. I'm just kidding. Everybody relax. Oh yes, indeed. This water has been blessed, but I can tell it's been tampered with. Can somebody peel the peel right here? Maybe it was a horde. Maybe it was an alliance, acting as an alliance member at the cathedral. Put everybody on high alert. Sound the alarm. Everyone's pissing me off. So, I basically made this, whatchamacallit? I made this video, I think yesterday or the day before. I forget. My brain's always burnt, alright? But I basically was talking about how there was free character transfers going on. And I was excited for the fact that these transfers were going to be, good for people, but also at the same time a little worrisome, because I do feel like this potentially might kill some servers. And then when I was doing a stream last night, I was looking at the Living Flame Discord, and I saw a lot of people were complaining that people are leaving Living Flame, and it's starting to become a little bit more inactive. I was like, huh, I wonder if this is due to the free character transfers. So then I got sent this website in my chat for ironforge.pro, which basically gives you a general analysis of basically a week-to-week update on how many people are playing on a certain server and how many people are still there or leaving, etc. But it just shows you the charts and graphs of everything. So I'm a charts and graphs kind of guy. I like looking at this type of stuff. So I was like, you know what? Let me look at Living Flame US, because that's the server I play on, right? So I'm looking over here on the bottom left, because this is what I'm paying attention to. And we could see here in the beginning of when, people were playing the game, early on, when Phase 1 started to come out, people were getting in there. It was active. In the beginning, you had, a lot of people just, really excited about their class. Phase 1 had a lot of stuff to offer, and it was very enjoyable. Some runes were weaker than others, of course, and the Phase 1 ended up being a little too long, I do think, and I believe, obviously. But overall, Phase 1 was probably one of the more special phases out of all the phases that we've had so far, which is only 2 phases, right? Phase 2 and Phase 3. But overall, at its peak, you could see that the game was at 56,000 players on Living Flame. Just one server. This is not Crusader Strike or anything else, just Living Flame, which is the one that, me and my guild picked. And 56K. We had 32,000 Alliance, 23,000 Horde. Overall, though, it was very, Alliance-sided on this server, but at the same time, it felt good. Like, Living Flame felt good overall, in general, for, like, the world. It felt alive. People were everywhere. The economy was not at shit at that point. It wasn't like, what it is now is what I'm basically getting at, But overall, it was a good time. And Phase 1 was very enjoyable. And then, obviously, we start segueing a little bit as we get into the later dates, working our way into February. And then we start hitting Phase 2. So we see that the decline happens right here on this meter. And it's a very steady decline because, obviously, during an end of a phase, you get a little bored of the fucking game. You basically did it all. There's nothing else for you to be done. That book is closed. That chapter is, finished, and you're ready for a new chapter, a new book to come out. And then we go over here to Phase 2. And we see a massive decline out of nowhere. A massive decline out of nowhere from what we saw from here compared to this. In the ending weeks, right? We're working at 45,000 players, and out of nowhere, we're at 20,000. Flat. Now, obviously, this comes to say with all the issues that were going on with Phase 2. Obviously, Nomer had its problems, and Nomer was obviously overtuned, for sure. Let's be real about it. Let's admit to it. It's no big deal. Nomer was not good in the beginning. But after they changed it, Nomer was beatable. And then people realized that after the patch changes and the things that, basically fixed the fights for melee, because in the beginning of Phase 1, Calrus gave problems to casters. In the beginning of Phase 2, Nomer gave so many issues to fucking melee. So they wind up fixing Kelris in the end towards like basically I would say like close from the beginning to midway of phase one. They fixed Kelris for casters, so casters started to start popping up more on the logs and doing more damage. And then eventually for melee, they fixed the last two bosses for the Menadre and Thermoplug fight, and they decreased their armor values. And then we see a spike from the beginning of what phase two was. And then over here at its peak, we're at 33,000 people for 17k in Alliance, 16k in Horde. So that's actually more tight-knitted of how close the Alliance and Horde and how good the balance was on the server. But still, way less numbers in comparison to 56,000 in the beginning of Phase 1. So obviously, these numbers are major difference on the thresholds. But just know that this website in itself, I am not 100% certain of the actual, data, if this is 100% totally true. But I am sure there are some data experts out there. They can come into the comments and say, well, you know what? This website's some bullshit. Or this actually is telling the truth. But we're going based off of it because it kind of makes sense when you look at things. What I'm telling you is that, yes, during the end of Phase 1, you did have that decline. Phase 2, when that started, it was actually a lot of bullshit with the raid, and people weren't too happy with what Blizzard was doing. And then as they made some changes in Phase 2, you started to see an incline of people coming back to the game, clearing Nomer, getting their gear, finishing up the raid, you know what I mean? So obviously, when, Blizzard, what does that tell you? When they're listening to their community and their community is trying to tell them some stuff that's going on, obviously they're going to make those changes to make the game better, and therefore people come back to the game and play. But the question is, was the damage already done from, phase one, with the issues that, phase one had in the beginning when, obviously the phase lasting too long. Maybe people weren't too excited with the runes overall, and obviously Kelris being too hard in the beginning for casters. So even though phase one was great, it did have some problems. It wasn't perfect, but it was a great way to start off SOD. But now you get to phase two, and the damage from the beginning of phase two, I guess is a better thing to say from what I said before. The damage beginning from phase two is really what caused problems with the community, and also the ending of phase one. So it's a bit of both, to be honest. It's a tie right there. So you have the too long of a phase from the beginning. Then you have phase two, which is like basically around, a drop off of players, because obviously a lot of melee players were not too happy with the raid and how it felt like a lot of retail gimmicky mechanics from a lot of people were saying in the beginning. And then also the pugging scene for players who didn't have a guild was very, very toxic. And obviously, with all the parsing and stuff, there was a big drama about that. We talked about that in the past. Let's leave it in the past though, right? So we go on forward. So we're getting to around, the March area, and now we start to see a small decline from March, and then eventually heading into April. So around here is where we're getting into April. So now we get hit with the surprise announcement from Blizzard that Phase 3 is coming out quicker than expected. And we're like, holy shit. Phase 3 is around the corner, boys. I did not know this. Now, a lot of people are not happy about this decision, by the way. If you remember correctly, when people heard about Phase 3 announcements, a lot of people were taken to the Twitters and to the forum posts and Reddits and stuff, and they're saying, dude, I didn't get prepared to call my, my boss and call for work for this. If I had some setup time, I would have, made some plans and schedules. Obviously, people have a fucking life. Let's be real. People have an everyday life. People have things to take care of, so I totally understand that. And honestly, I do think Phase 3 came out way too quick with no PTR. We're basically the test realm. We're basically the guinea pigs testing this while the game just goes out, and we have to suffer the consequences since Blizzard didn't want to have, public testing for any of this going on coming into Phase 3. So that was a major issue too, which led to obviously, a lot of people being annoyed overall. So Phase 3 comes out, right? And now you would expect a boom, right? Because at least we would get something, or we would at least maybe expect more players keeping their way of going, because obviously with Phase 2, we got Phase 3 quicker than we thought. And then it happened, and then boom, 16,000 people are playing on Living Flame. So I'm like, all right, well, those numbers are not the worst thing ever, but obviously in comparison to what Phase 2, 20,000 players, that's a loss of 4,000 players. Now, obviously the maths, I'm roughing out the math to an estimate, all right? Just, giving an estimate. I know there's other numbers. I'm just saying, just going from there, all right? So follow with me. Don't lose me here. So now, here's what happens where things start getting a little shaky. we're at 16,000 players. And now we come over here to 49415, and we're at 18,000 players. And just before, according to this chart right here, from the 26th to the 4th, we were averaging about 25,000 players on Living Flame. So having at least 25,000 players actively, 13k in the Alliance, 12k on the Horde, you know. Overall, though, they were close to 13k as well. We were averaging a pretty decent server. Now we're at the point where we're at 16 and we're at 18. And now the free character transfer thing gets involved. And now this is where it gets a little concerning. Because now everybody is going to, I believe, to PvE Wild Growth. And if we look at Wild Growth, which I'll show you here, actually. If we look at Wild Growth right now is at 20,000 players with a majority of Alliance overcoming the Horde. And as of recently, from 415, 49, they were at 20,000. And I think they're at more now. It's not showing the last charts of statistics here, which I wish they did so I can show you these values. But I've heard more people went to Wild Growth PvE. If that is true, and they left Living Flame to go here, there is a potential that Living Flame, maybe some point soon, who knows, might no longer be Living Flame. It might be called Dying Flame. Because if you see the growth of what we once were, in the peak of its game, being at 56,000 players, compared to where we were at Phase 2, and at its highest at the midway point in Phase 3, Phase 2 at the midway point in Phase 2 at 33,000, come down to now at its lowest 16 to 18, that's a little concerning. That is a little concerning, I'm not going to lie to you. And this type of stuff gets me a little worried about these type of character transfers. I don't know who asked for these. I don't know if this... I'm very curious about this part. I don't know who asked for this. Maybe there's data there, which I can't argue about that, if there is data there, for people wanting a character transfers from PvP to PvE server. But then again, my question is this. Why would anybody click a PvP server if you don't want to be a part of a PvP server? Like, if you're clicking to be a part of a PvP server, you know what you're getting involved into. You're going to get involved in open world PvP. There's going to be assholes that grief. There's going to be people that are camping instances, waiting to ruin your world buffs, etc. You signed up for that. That's a part of the game. Now, if you're going to a PvE server, I get that's what you want to do. But the way they went about this has me a little worried about the stability of the economy of what's going to happen in my server now. Where I'm like, fuck, dude. What do I do? Do I just stay in Living Flame and ride it out until the wheels go off, and then they just, you know, transfer us over into another server like Crusader Strike or Wild Growth, wherever the fuck we go? Or do I just keep playing and then just hope for the best? Or do I just transfer over to Wild Growth? I don't want to leave. I kind of like doing PvP in open world. It doesn't bother me as much. I do wish there was changes implemented where, you know, there was optional... like, you know, they have with Stranglethorn Veil, where you get that, you know, Zandalari debuff, where if you go into, let's say, an instance, and you know, you're in that area, if you're not in the instance zone, you can, like, talk to somebody real quick where, you know, it's basically like a no-kill zone, and people don't need to get griefed, you know? But if you're out of the instance zone, like, completely away from the dungeon, it's all, you know, it's all fucking, no holds bars, you know? You could basically get shot by anyone. And that would probably help with stopping griefing, is what I was getting at, which I was talking about in my stream last night. I think they should implement something where basically there is like a bubble at these areas and these people are safe when it comes to going to an instance, both Horde and Alliance. But when you're not in that area, in that bubble, and you're just in the open world out and about, you can get smoked by anyone because it's a PvP server. So I think that's a good way to combat griefing and also promote healthy PvP within the world, because at the end of the day, it is a PvP server. You signed up for it. It is the truth. Now, who knows what's going to happen with Living Flame? I am a little nervous about its life expectancy at this point. I don't know where we're going to go about, you know, in the next month or two to see what they're going to do. But I do know that I am a little worried about this. And I knew that this character transfer thing might have been a problem And I didn't think how big of a problem it was going to be until I start seeing people like in the discords and stuff start blowing up about it. So yeah, I am definitely concerned for sure. Another thing though, I do want to talk about, which is actually pretty cool. So something I was looking at last night with Sky, by the way, from the Comeback Kids. Much love to that amigo over there. That dude's a great person, and he's a great YouTuber. So you guys should definitely check him out. And you know, much credit to him for showing me this stuff. So we're going to show you guys something. Project Epoch, right? So Project Epoch is basically what he was telling me about, is basically a private server for World of Warcraft that is basically doing Classic Plus right. And when I looked at this, last night, and I was observing, and I took a look at it again today, I was really just in awe with the fact of what I was seeing. Of all the new areas, of all the new enemies, the quest design, items getting changed up, just different dungeons, reworking dungeons. I was in total shock of what I was seeing. Because I look at these images here, right? And I see just images of like, you know, unique looking enemies, different types of items. I'm looking at things I've never seen before with these types of fucking, you know, saber-toothed tigers. I'm looking at enemies. I know this is in Stranglethorn. I've never seen this type of enemy before. And I'm just looking at, like, what am I looking at? I believe this is within Ashenvale. This looks like it's within Tenaris. And then over here, I believe this is in Searing Gorge or the Burning Steeps, whatever. However, overall, I'm checking these images out and I'm looking at everything individually, and I'm just in awe with the fact that there are people out there willing to change the game in such a way where it is more fun to work through the areas of dungeons and, you know, quest lines and fight different foes and adversaries and different enemies. And I'm looking at all this stuff here, right? I'm obviously not going over each individual screenshot, but just looking at like little highlights of things like this here and there. But I was just in awe, honestly, that a team of passionate developers, which we'll go back up from here, a team of passionate developers, people that truly care about the health of WoW. Editor, I didn't ask for a full zoom in there. Thank you. Appreciate that. However, that truly care about the health of WoW are just reworking the game, but keeping its classic feel and giving a version of Classic Plus. I mean, this is insane. Stuff like this is what gets me excited. And I thought that's what Season of Discovery was going to give us. Now, don't get me wrong. Phase 1, I'll stick to that by the end of my days. That Phase 1 was great. And no problem with Phase 1. But I thought we were going to get new zones. Like, I mention this video all the time, but my Duskwood video, I love that video a lot, because I even mentioned in there that I thought we were going to see, like, new ads, like new enemies, you know, within different areas, and maybe new little pathways and new quests to do with, you know, different types of lore and things that were intriguing to captivate the player base and build upon the lore of, you know, World of Warcraft. I thought we were going to see more stuff with like the Scarlet Monastery and quest lines going there, maybe something to do with like the Corrupted Ashbringer, or like you know, more things about like Mograine and stuff, and like things about the Might of Menethil, you know, talking about, you know, different aspects of that, and just coolly, I don't know, like just cooler things tied to, you know, the whole Scarlet Crusade, and seeing stuff about SM. I was even talking with my friends about it. I was like, I wish like they did something with SM with a raid where it was a gauntlet of all 4 bosses in each dungeon, in each instance, and you fight them in a whole new area within the Scarlet Crusade, maybe in the basements of the Scarlet Crusade or something, like a whole nother area of SM we never seen before or discovered. And that's the type of stuff that I was trying to discover. And I was robbed of it. We were all robbed of it. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm just spitting. I'm just spitballing right here. And also at the same time, I got a hair in my mouth. Ah, what the hell's going on? Editor, did you just poison me? I'll slap the shit out of you. However, lock it in. But what I'm saying is, ugh, I still got a hair. What the? Editor, that's 2 weeks in the chair, tied up with duct tape. I said what I said. However, what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to fucking say is, that's what I wanted to discover. And I know I'm going off the rails with, like, talking about, like, different weapons and stuff. I'm just saying, you know, there could have been so much cooler things with inside that would have got me more excited as a player that I really was hoping and looking forward to. And then when I see stuff like this, like, Project Epoch, and them talking about, like, all the many changes that they're going to do on far class changes as well. Like, they were talking about shit with undead paladins and talking more unique ways to go about seal twisting, which we have yet to see in fucking SOD at all when it comes to paladins. And obviously different factions playing different classes and stuff, but still remaining that classic feel. This is the type of stuff that I really wanted to see within SOD, and we did not get. And that's what I'm a little bummed out about. I do hope that in the further phases that we get to see within SOD, we see some really cool changes where it's not just us going through Classic again, but it's going through something of Classic that we've never seen before that is actually really cool, and there's other cool quest lines to do, and it's not just the same old quests. But I have a feeling that that's not going to happen, but it's totally fine, because I understand that this is a playground for Blizzard to mess around with. At the end of the day, it's a seasonal realm. I try to compare it to like Diablo seasons, because I get like how Diablo seasons work. You're just testing the waters with different things. So that's how I'm comparing this to. And I'm going to keep always covering SOD, even though, I have problems and I have my issues with it, but I still love it, because I have a good time with my guild and my friends. And overall, though, I do wish there was a little bit more creativity and further innovative ideas to really capitalize upon not only the nostalgia of the game that us as the player base have, but the love that we have for it, and how awesome, original World of Warcraft is, because that's what it's all about. And that's all I'm hoping for as a player, and just being a person, being a regular old individual about it. So yesterday, when I was talking with McConnell about this, he actually brought up how Paladin seals were handled within basically Warlords of Draenor. And it was very interesting because I was reading through it, because I never really played WoD. I never played a Paladin in WoD, so I was curious about this. And you gotta remember, my retail knowledge is limited, so I'm learning a lot of things as I go, catching up with things, and I love to always, be corrected when I'm wrong, and that's totally fine. But empowered seals. Your seals also cause Judgment to empower you with the addition of beneficial effect, which persists through changing seals. So Judgment Justice would increase your movement speed by 20% for 20 seconds. Your Judgment Insight would heal you for 2% of your maximum health for every 3 seconds for 21 seconds. Your Judgment of Righteousness would increase your haste by 20% for 20 seconds, and your Judgment of Truth would increase your attack power by 50% for 20 seconds. So, this type of stuff, seeing these type of seals playing off of each other, really is something that actually excites me for ideas that Blizzard can have with actually playing around the switching of seals mechanic. Now, yes, it would be WoD based on how they would do it, or they can go a little bit more creative with it and make it their own thing and change it from different things and attributes have we seen here before. Whether they keep, Seal of Martyrdom, obviously basing off of just, having a better chance with faster weapons, since the way the game works right now currently is just that fast weapons, the more haste you have, the more procs you get EXO, which are Art of War build, and then obviously, Seal of Martyrdom is just benefiting more of the fast-handed weapons for that reason. It's only for that reason, not because it naturally should be, but it's for that reason, right? So, I think there would be a cool way if they did something with messing around with how seals twist with one another, but writing an actual description within a passive book for a paladin to actually show how they would get a benefit from the seal. Whether they write in the description that if you were to use this seal into this seal, you would require a nice slow weapon would provide a better chance at a proc, or a faster weapon would provide a better chance of a proc for this seal, or if they went about it in a way which made it, very fun and intriguing for the paladin to go about from switching seals on and off, I think they can write some hefty descriptions and make it a passive book. No need to make it a rune or anything like that, so the paladins can have a little bit more fun, and actually it's something in the game rather than just basing off of, a potential chance with the 0.4 and going based off, their end of Blizzard to see if it just procs or not, and there's that chance. And I think it would be better off if they had something set in stone, is what I'm getting at. And I would like to see that if they ever decide to go down that route. Completely up to them. Once again, I hope for the best for the Paladin, no matter what. There's a future that I see for Paladins that could be really good. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of other classes, you know, need changes and want their needs to be answered. I'm not here to just, you know, speak upon, you know, anybody else. I'm obviously here representing for the Paladins. That's what I'm going to talk about because it's the fucking class I play. And I would love to see, you know, stuff like that, you know, for our class. If they ever were to do so, depending on how they go about it. I'm completely looking forward to the future overall. So something like, you know, WOD or something of their own nature, you know, maybe a mixed version of empowered seals, so to say. It'd be very intriguing to see how they go about it. Overall, though, I don't want to speak too much. I think this is a good enough video to lay you guys on. You know, I hope you picked up what I'm putting down, and then we go from there. So as always, amigos, keep on keeping on. Thank you for coming to the video. Shine on for sure. And as always, much love to you. This Paladin will see you in the next one. That's a Dwight bobblehead. When the fuck did I get this thing? Editor, did you send